All right, welcome to the Inspired Days Show. Today we are talking with Frank Pimentel, all the way from Local Marketing Vault.
All the way from Hawaii. From
Yeah.
Hawaii to Thailand. Wonder how long that flight would be.
Yeah, it's like, is it close or is it far?
Hey, Frank.
Hey, Frank, how's it going?
How's it going?
Good. We were just talking about how long the flight from Thailand to Hawaii would be. It'd be a pretty big trek.
Oh yeah. It's probably eight or 9 hours to either Japan or China. Then you'd have to go to Thailand after that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, what we're going to do here, Frank, is we're going to put it onto low data mode just to make sure that it goes through okay. So you're not going to be able to see us, but in the recording, we'll both be on video and all that kind of stuff, okay?
Okay.
Just to make sure that the the Wi-Fi situation, because we don't trust our Thai Wi-Fi here. I'm not going to lie to you. And nothing's worse than having like a bad like recording and you're like, oh, now we just wasted everybody's time. You know?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for hopping on with us today, Frank, to formally introduce ourselves. I'm Kelsey, and this is my partner, Alex. And basically, to kind of give you a quick background on us, we are also members of the LMV community. And I think that you actually used to do kind of what we help with now. And you kind of interviewed people from the program and helped make content about it. So that's part of what we're doing here is just kind of breaking down different people's strategies who found some kind of success in the program and kind of making it step by step for people who are just getting started in online business. So that's really why we wanted to talk to you. Obviously, you had an experience with the LMV program and you've used it to now go on and grow your own online business. So I'd like to just kind of start by getting you to explain a little bit of your story and how you found the program and how your business has evolved since then.
Okay, yeah. I got into LMV in, I think it was 2017 when they launched, or it could have been 2018 when they launched. It becomes blurry after a while, but it's the first when they first launched it, and I came across it in another group that actually James and I were in together. They launched the LMV program to there, and I was doing, it was an SEO group, and I had just joined, and I was like, I do not want to do SEO. Like, it just takes too long. It's unpredictable, and it was just something I wasn't super interested in. Then LMV came up around, and their emphasis was around paid ads. I was like, oh, perfect. This is exactly what I want to do. So I jumped in that group. Right, I was one of the first students back in 2000, had to be 2018. Yeah. And hit the ground running. It made sense. I was able to get through the training program. I actually landed an SEO client as I was joining LMV that I then convinced, let's not do SEO, let's actually do paid advertising, Google ads, in order to get like business now versus waiting for SEO to pay off. So I actually had a client right away just because it was just good timing, and it's probably more what he needed anyways in the beginning of his business. So I started doing that. Was having some success right away. I was fortunate that Google ads really just made sense, was really kind of in my, it made sense to me. I was able to get it really, pick it up quick and then start selling it. Did that for about a year before I started working for Jason and James. I was very active in the group. They needed help first with like small tasks, and then it grew into a more operational role with them where I was managing a lot of their business, like behind the scenes kind of thing, right? Just business automation, doing things like this. Like they would come like, hey, we want to accomplish this. What tools, what softwares, what do we need to do to connect everything? How do we make it work? It's kind of was what I would do that with them a lot. And I was there for a few years. I was there all the way till 2000 with them till 2021. I was still taking clients on here and there, but I got to see the inner workings of their business and how to run ads, how to, especially at a large scale, what that took, what that looked like. It kind of allowed me to see what's possible. I think a lot of spending money on Google ads for students or business owners in general is that they're scared to spend the money because they're not sure if they're going to get it back.
Right.
And probably because they've tried very poorly, probably very just without much information, or just like throwing money, spaghetti against the wall and hopefully it sticks. they probably didn't have a lot of success. So in their mind, if they spent any more than they spent, they would have just lost it all. And it makes sense, you know. But working with Jason and James, I saw what it looked like when you spend a significant amount of money, and just to understand, like, just numbers work out at the end. The averages work out. Your conversion rates typically stay the same. You know, you might have a day where you make no money and you're like, that's all right, I'll probably do really well tomorrow. And then sure enough, you just crush the next day, and it's like, and it just balances out, right?
Mm.
And so I got a lot of that experience with them because I would see, you know, I was seeing everything going on, and I had an opportunity come up with another member of LMV, and he's here in Hawaii, and he was like, "Hey, we're starting this business. I know you do a lot of stuff with Jason and James. Would you like, you know, potentially come run the ads for us?" I was like, "Well, let's check it out. Let's see what's going. Let's see what you have, what the potential is." And we started to do that in April of 21, and we started running some tests on ads, kind of see what we can do. And we started making money. I was like, huh, like there's something definitely here, especially coming out of COVID, right? Travel was locked down for a couple years. And people were kind of getting back into the groove. There was a lot of people that were normally in the market that were still sitting on the sidelines. So it gave us the opportunity to kind of like run with no competition at the beginning. So our conversions were going. A lot of things here were at half capacity. So, you know, if we would go negotiate like our own capacity for things. So we had guaranteed seats for activities and stuff. So we were able to sell all that stuff without much effort and for really great profit in the moment, right? So we grew really fast. We started running ads, started growing our agency, and it was my first time running ads for myself. Even though technically we're a marketing agency, there's the structure's a little bit different the way it works, right? We take a piece, we collect the money, we take our piece, and then we pay our vendors the rest, right? So we're an agency, we collect the money. But we're actually more of like a true like an eight versus like a marketer, right? Like we actually have agents, we actually have people we work with our customers. So they're our customers, and we place them on with different vendors. But this is the first time I did it for ourselves, which was really interesting, right? Taking this knowledge that you have to do it for other people, and like, okay, like how does this apply to my business and what we're doing, and how do I kind of how do I put my money where my mouth is, right? Like, hey, I believe in this stuff, right? I do it for other people, but I have no risk in that, right? They're paying me my monthly fee, and then they take all the risk. And now, you know, coming from working with Jason and James, I saw what it took to, you know, what it was like to just run we just got to buy the data, we have to get the numbers, and then we start to optimize, and we saw some really good growth in that. So fortunately, the industry I'm in, it's unique in the sense that like getting basically we get all of our we get it's all profit share, and that's pretty standard in the industry, right? So getting clients, if I say, hey, I want X amount percent rate, you know, if retail rate is $100, I'll pay you $70 for your product. It's like standard. That's how it works. So it's really easy for us to get clients. If we feel we can expand into a certain area, we just call somebody up, they give us a contract, and we start selling them. So I'm able to bring on vendors quite easily and expand.
And you guys are doing like almost like a travel agent thing, right? Like I want to do stuff in Hawaii, I go through you guys kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
is that what you're doing?
We're what you would call an activity desk. So, you know, when you go to hotels and they have concierge there, a lot of times those are put there just to draw you in. Hey, we'll help you, and then they're trying to sell you activities. But we do it all online, so we're not in hotels. We do it purely like your Viators or your Expedias that sell, anybody that sells, mostly Viator that sells tours and activities online. That's what we do. So that's who we compete with. I mean, there's other people on the island too that do the same thing. So, but again, the industry is pretty standard in like profit share. So it's kind of like the marketer's dream of like, I can get profit share, but I collect the money and I pay the vendor. So I don't have to worry about not getting paid. I don't have to worry about, I know all the numbers. And one thing I try to tell marketers, they have to understand, they all excite like, oh, this guy's willing to profit share with me. Most of the time what that means is that they're scared to risk and they want to transfer the risk to you. Right.
Yeah.
And if you have a lot of success, I promise you that person's going to resent the deal they made with you. Even though you're bringing them more money, as soon as they have to start sending you $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, they're going to have a hard time writing that check every month. Even because they're going to think, I'm doing all the work and you're getting $30,000 a month, or 10,000, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So unless anybody that I've seen have success with profit sharing, they're collecting the money. There's some people in LMB group that do something similar in different industries where they sell the product, collect the money, then they pay the vendor. Like that's if you're going to do profit share, try to collect the money. It will keep your vendor happy. It will keep the psyche good, because I promise they get upset when they're like, I'm doing all the work. I mean, even now with the same, even though this is standard, we have vendors that still kind of push back sometimes, like, we're doing all the work, yet you're getting this commission, right? It's like, yeah, it's fine. But in my argument, it's like, hey, do you have open seats? If no one sits in there, you're not making any money. So, we have that selling point. But I'm telling you, like, most profit shares, people end up like not paying because like, I'm not paying you that much. They want to kill the deal. And it is very short-sighted, because all it is like, and if they're not seeing the money first, they don't have that same disconnect. So this has been a great industry to get into for us, because we just make a phone call and we have contracts, we have new vendors, and we start selling to people online.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you basically came into LMB, you kind of learned those digital advertising skills, and you took a partnership that came from that group. It stemmed into what your business is today. And it sounds like, in a way, you still are very much like a marketing middleman then.
Oh, we're 100% a marketing agency. The nice thing is I don't have to ask for permission for budgets. I control the budget, right? If I can sell it, I can make money on it, I can spend it, right? Versus most, where it's like, hey, you're this profitable, can we spend more? Like, I don't know if I can, we control that, which that's one of the reasons why we wanted to go this route too, is we did not want, because there is some people that will sell it and they collect the money, then you get a commission check back. And most in this industry, it works because they're used to that model. But there's some risk in the fact that they may not pay you, or they're going to control, you might not get your money for 60, 90 days, right? Based on your agreements after you make the sale, after the tour happens. So I might make a sell in March and the tour doesn't happen until June. So I won't get that commission checked after June, right? But I paid for the ad in March. So who's paying for that in the meantime? Like, who's going to, like, that bill still has to get paid. So, there's some, it's better to collect the money. Like, in my opinion, you have better control. You get to dictate things a little better. And plus, if you ever want to switch vendors, it can happen in the back end, and your customers on the front end they're no wiser of it.
Right. Okay. So if you could, like, one of the things we're really, really trying to do with this content is really get people to break down in super simple language what you do. So if you were trying to explain to somebody in junior high, like, step by step, here's kind of how my business works, how would you try to describe that to them?
Yeah, I'm an e-com business at the end of the day. We're an e-com business. The difference is we market real life, like, people and activities and tours, right? So at the end of the day, it's just a matter of, we sell things on. I mean, I don't know how to break that down any simpler than that. We're just an e-com business. We sell things online. We have a commission split, and we set up an ad, someone sees it, they like the tour, they buy it, we collect it, we actually send the confirmation over to the vendor confirms it instantly. Now the vendor takes care of the guest. At the end of the month, they bill us, we pay them, we keep the difference. And that's really as simple as it is. We arbitrage, really. And I tell my partners all the time, we use money to buy ads. People, we sell somebody's tour, and then we pay the difference. We're just arbitraging in between, right? And we try to make as much of that as possible, running ads. And it's really, what's been our biggest, one of the biggest things, especially when it comes to e-com, when you're getting transactions online, is your ability to send data back to Google. The quality of your data, how much of the conversion matching are you getting? Are you sending back value so you can get a return on ad spend? Google's gotten really good at hitting your return on ad spend goals with their automated bidding. It's really, really good. So it's a quality of data thing with that. You got to be sending good quality data with them, and they will give you what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel like that's kind of, because I know you said that you obviously have competitors, people like Expedia or any of these sites where people can book experiences like this. So do you feel like that's kind of what gives you a bit of an advantage over big competitors like that?
Well, no, I don't think it's the way we run ads. I'm sure they're doing the same thing. I'm sure they have good data. I'm sure they have someone running their ads accounts fine. The difference is that we are a niche down brand that just focuses on Hawaii versus
Right.
Viator, who focuses across the world, right? So I think when people are looking to come to Hawaii, they see our company, who's Hawaii based, it's in our name. Like, who are you going to trust, Viator or someone we are only do Hawaii? So I
Right.
think it's
Okay.
we I always it's almost like we've taken the local advertising model, like what LMV teaches,
Mm-hmm.
but the difference is that most local businesses only focus on their 10-mile radius, not 15-mile or 20-mile radius, right? Where we focus on anybody coming into the state to visit, which is a different. It's a different. If you're selling, you think about it, like if you're selling plumbing, you're only going to have so many people that need plumbing services in your area at any given time, right? You really can't increase that or decrease that. But when people are coming into your area for something specific, like we're getting a good portion of our revenue comes from people that are not even in the state yet. They buy when they're at home and while they're planning, right? So we're able to
Yeah.
do local marketing, but with people that are out of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, so it's
So
like
if we
local e-com.
could, yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. No, that's a really good way to explain it. So if we could kind of go back to before you were doing what you're doing now, you're in LMV, you're kind of just getting into the lead generation space and you're starting to build up your agency. Did you
Mhm.
have a way that you focused on getting clients, or what did you find was really effective for you in that kind of
Yeah.
initial building phase?
So when I had my first consistency and building and maintaining a certain level of revenue was when I started figuring out how to prospect on a consistent basis without really me being involved, right? Because you're always going to be the bottleneck in your business, especially when you're doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
um
Hmm.
I had to figure out hey, what can I set up, what can I can I create an automated system that will prospect for me. I didn't have a lot of extra money, so I couldn't just pay for ads um at the moment. So I was like, what can I do? So I had already had some experience doing some cold emailing, and I knew some of the tools that existed around that to automate it. So what I did is I focused on cold emailing. In my opinion, it's very inefficient but it's also low effort once you set it up. Right? You can send out 10,000 emails in a
Mm-hmm.
day, and it's not like you could have set that up, months ago, and it just automatically goes out, right? So it's not like you're having to do a lot of effort to send out a mass amount of emails. So the inefficiency wasn't a big factor. It was more so I just needed people constantly in my pipeline, right? So I did a lot of cold emailing with some automated systems, and that's how I was consistently getting bookings or appointments. First, because what I realized was sales is hard when you're not sure when your next prospect is going to come along. If you think you're going to blow it with this guy and you may not get another prospect for 2 months, a month, or whatever, you're going to do whatever you can to try to close them, which ends up being desperate and which ends up being very off-putting, and it doesn't typically work out. But when you're like, listen, I got 4 calls today. If it doesn't work out with you, I'm going to close someone.
Yeah.
And it becomes like, listen, I'm looking for someone that works with me, that works for me, not for the other way around. Like if we can work together, then let's do it. If it doesn't, if I don't like what's going on, I can say no to this. When you come from that position, that's what prospecting, having a consistent pipeline does for you. It allows you to be more selective of who you're working with, because in this business, working with the right business is very, very important. Not every business owner, they say they want to market, they say they want to advertise, but can they gut the expenses around it? Do they see the long-term benefit of it? Do they even have the processes to close the deals that you bring them? Because I've done that before, where you generate leads for someone, they can't close them. It's like, oh, these leads suck. It's like, if you've never dealt with leads before, I can see why you would say that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every marketer has gone through that, where you're constantly getting that these leads are no good. It's like, well, you're used to warm referral business. Like, they're not going to close on the first deal, or you might have to follow up, or you might have to do some work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
So
something
yeah,
you kind of learn by doing it.
of course, you know, you don't, that's why, you know, I think it's important. And I think a lot of people don't want to put the work in and the effort to learn. And that's one thing I was willing to do, especially like, I mean, I took a pay cut initially to go work with Jason and James. I was an electrician. I was making over six figures as an electrician. Um, and I took an initial pay cut to go work for them because I believed I was going to learn way more than what I was losing in that.
Mm-hmm.
And it has paid off tremendously for me. Um, so I think everybody, obviously, I mean, everybody's in their own unique situation, but people, when they sign up for something like this, they have the idea that they're going to become, you know, they're going to replace their job overnight, which is probably not going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you're willing to put in the time, you're willing to learn, you're willing to do the things necessary, it can be extremely lucrative and fulfilling, and give you the time that you're looking for, or the, you know, whatever, you can build a lifestyle around it.
Right, right. So for you in the beginning, then it sounds like your kind of main tools or softwares that you were using were probably GHL or Agency Toolbox or whatever was
No,
being
they didn't
used in
exist.
the program at the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
those didn't exist at the time.
Okay.
Those are fairly new within the last couple of years, so those didn't exist. We
Mm-hmm.
were using, I mean, there's a bunch of things out there like Mailshake, and um, I was paying people on Upwork to go scrape, uh, like um, like when you go to like a chiropractor's, you can go to their association website and say I'm looking for a chiropractor, and it'll give you the chiropractor's information. Well, I would pay Upwork people from like in Bangladesh like $20, and they build me a scraper, and it would go and collect all their name, number, and email. So I would get chiropractors lists of like 50, 60, 70, 80,000 doctors long, you know, big. So then you put them in these systems that would, then you have your templates, your emails, you would send them out. And then if the email didn't get a reply, it would follow up, and it would have like, you know, a big follow-up sequence, kind of like what GHL is now, what, you know, these
Mm-hmm.
programs are now. It was like a rudimentary version of it, but just email. And,
Wow.
and which then would, I mean, I would get a lot of responses, and that's one thing I learned about cold emails. You're just trying to get people to buy it and connect with you and talk with you and start having a conversation. But the nice thing is I can send out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of emails in a day while I was still working. I didn't have to sit down and do it myself. And that's what, like, I think, if, you know, everybody's like, what's the secret to prospecting, what's the secret to this? And it's like, listen, there's no secret other than it has to be done. And the best prospecting is the one that you do consistently. Just like the same weight loss plan is not about any keto or you know, high fat, whatever. Like there's no secret sauce. It's more about which one can you stick to, because it's time doing it that gives the results, not the actual act. Or is there some that are more efficient? Like cold calling is hard. There's very few people that are good at that. I wouldn't recommend that for 99% of the people, but there's a handful of people that feel comfortable doing it, and they're going to stick to it, and they're going to have success, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they may not do well with running ads, or they may not do well with cold emailing or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, you know?
Mm-hmm. So in the beginning, then you basically found a way to utilize your time as best as possible to send out all these cold emails. And then when you would get people responding back to you, when you're first kind of in those beginning stages, how did you handle things like pricing yourself when you were still very new at all this?
I mean, pricing was probably way underpriced, and just because you're trying to land the deal at the end of the day. So, you know, I mean, at the time you're charging $500 to like run ads, which is, I mean, that's still not bad, but it's not a big amount by any means.
You're not changing your life.
Right. It's not life changing, right?
Yeah.
You know, you need a lot of those to make money, which makes it hard too, especially when you're working. So, but at the end of the day though, too, is like, if I can get paid to have some experience, then I won, right? It was more about learning and getting comfortable, because like anything else, what I learned at LMV working for Jason and James about, you know, spending money in ads, it gave me the confidence to step into my next business, to spend the necessary money and understand, like, hey, it's going to work out. Hey, we lost money today, but we're going to make it up tomorrow, and not freak out, right? Or it's the same thing when you run ads. I mean, I can almost write an ad for any business now, because I've copied so many of Jason's ads that I write them like he does. and you start to understand it's just a formula. So like, oh, this is not an LMV. That's fine. I can write an ad for it because I'm just going to do the same exact thing, but just tweak a few things to make it unique to your business, and it's going to work. And then we can go from there. And I think that's the biggest thing here is you have to feel comfortable, because selling becomes easy when you're like, listen, don't worry, it's going to work. Let me show you. And it's like versus like, well, we got to get, it's like you start like you're making things up, and the only real way there's no getting around doing the work. At the end of the day, there's no getting around that. You have to be willing to do it. Even if you have to do it at a discounted rate, you just need the reps, time under pressure, time on the field. Like it's necessary to master anything. Not that I've even mastered it. Like I do a good enough job to get the job done, but it's really about just getting time and feeling comfortable about it.
Right. So in the beginning then, when you didn't kind of have that confidence and that conviction of actually having done it yourself, you basically kind of came at it from that authentic approach with people where you were undercharging because you're like, hey, I'm going to make this work, and just kind of being real with them. And then as you got the good results, you got more comfortable in charging more of what you felt you were worth.
Yeah. Yes and no. I mean, it wasn't so much that like, hey, I'm going to charge you less because I can't do a good job. It was more like I didn't charge more because I felt like I wouldn't necessarily tell them that. Because I had a lot of confidence. And one thing too, I tried to stick to like a lot of the niches that Jason and James had already been in, because they had ads that already had proven that had worked to some extent, right? So I stuck to those because then that gave me the confidence, like, hey, at least I can get it started. I can get you some results, right? And at the beginning, like anybody else, now I remember I would do paid trials. Like I never did a free trial where like I paid for the ads, but I was willing to, hey, listen, let's do some testing. You pay for the ads. I'll put in my effort. If it all works out, we'll work together. If it doesn't, you're only going to risk. Because what I learned quickly is I wasn't willing to work with a business that wasn't willing to risk $500. If $500 was a pain point for you and you couldn't risk that for your ads while I was willing to put my time in, then we didn't need to even be talking at this point, because you have bigger problems than ads. If $500 is really a problem for your business, right? If it's a legitimate business, right? So that was a big, at the beginning, I think about it as I started thinking about it more. It's like, okay, I would do trials, but I was like, listen, it's going to cost $500. But here's the deal: you put $500 of money in, I'll put in my own time, and I would make an agreement with them. If it goes well, we'll have a conversation about keeping this going. It's going to cost, and that's like that was the honest truth to them. But I had confidence because of the way the program was structured. LMB was structured, is that it had ads and landing pages. Like that's the biggest struggle for most new people. Like, where do I start? How do I write an ad? What's the landing page look like? If you can give me something that's already worked in the past, it's probably going to work again to some extent. It may not be exactly the same, but at least we have a starting point. Because most of the problem is not that it didn't work well, because you can, you might be able to figure it out. It's really like, where do I even start? And that's what LMV gave you the ability to, okay, here's the baseline. Here's where you start. Now go focus on something else. Because many people, and I get in the group, and I've been around for a long time, and I've been in the group for a long time, and what you see the same thing over and over. It's like, oh, new people coming in, and they want to say, what should my business name be? I've been thinking about this for weeks. I haven't moved forward since because I can't get the right domain for my business. I was like, you got to be kidding! Like you're already destined to fail if this is where you're at after 2 weeks, because you can't get a domain that matches your. Who cares? I've had a website for 5 years, and I can tell you a handful of times where I passed it out to a prospect as if it mattered. And then most of the time they're asking for that information. They're probably not going to, you've already not conveyed the necessary information for them to trust you if they're asking for your website, because I promise you, your website's not going to convert them.
Yeah, exactly. So, I feel like that's the kind of stuff that you learn as you go, though. You're like, oh, I used to think that having an awesome website was important. And once I actually started doing this, I realized how unimportant it really is.
Sure. Right. And it's like, oh, because we with our business, we don't have landing pages, right? We have product pages that we sell things on. It's very much built like an e-com store, right? But we try to optimize our pages as much as possible, like a landing page, so that it converts as well as possible, right? So, so most people don't have that. We're like, listen, you need to build a landing page. And then people are like, no, you want to send it. Like, listen, if we're not going to listen to me, then what are we doing here? Like, if you're the professional, do it yourself, and it's like, you have to be willing to tell business owners. So there's two things that I would recommend to any new business person doing this, right, in LMV.
Mhm.
First thing, you're a business owner too, just like they are. They have no more value than you do. Okay, they're talking business owner to business owner. We do B2B business, right? This is not them above us, we're below because we're the little marketer. No. You're a business owner too. You're offering a service. You offer service to other businesses where they may offer service to customers, to clients, forward-facing clients. You offer services to businesses. There's nothing different between the two of you. Have the confidence, like, hey, I'm a business owner too. I know what I have. I know what I do, and I'm the one to be trusted in here. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is focus on things that what your ability to succeed is to understand what's important, right? Entrepreneurship, business owner, running a business, all about understanding, because you're going to have a million things you could do. I can build a website. I can get a logo designed. I have to pick a name. I have to get my LLC. I have to get, but what is important, right? The most important thing in business, the lifeblood, is revenue. If you're not generating revenue, you don't have a business, right? So I would tell people, like, don't, people like, oh, I want to finish the whole course before I go prospect. Okay. And what did you gain by that? You think you're going to, like, like what, like learning how to set up a Facebook pixel isn't going to make you a better business owner or a salesperson. I would go create the problem first and then learn how to solve it. Right. This is what we do as entrepreneurs. So it's all about building the plane as we fall, right? Go create the problem, fix it. Create the problem, fix it, because you could get caught up in fixing problems that may never actually be problems. So understanding what's important to move you forward is the biggest skill set you can gain as a business owner, and understand, like, what is going to move the needle forward. We have this conversation with my business owner all the time. Like, we could do this, like, yeah, but is it going to change anything? Will we make a little bit more? Yeah, but is it going to change anything that's worth our effort to put into that, to change it? And it's like, what is going to move the needle? Like, where can we put our effort in that's going to give us the biggest return for our time and our money, right? And, when you're learning, you focus on websites and names and domain names and email addresses and all the things that distract you from actually taking action. And that's really what it is, because you're uncomfortable. I get it. Like, I was there. It's uncomfortable. You're learning something new. You have to learn to be comfortable, and that's like not knowing everything, because even going through the basic stuff of, like, the sales, like, go check out the sales stuff, understand how to sell it, and then go. And remember, you still know more than they do.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really, really good way to put it. I think you summed it up really well there. My last question for you is just kind of on that same note, is we always try to pass along, obviously in the world of online business, you kind of have to be responsible for holding yourself accountable. And a lot of people come into this from living the employee lifestyle where they have somebody else or some kind of 9-to-5 keeping them accountable. So when you were kind of getting into online business, or even now just throughout your journey, have you found any particular, like, productivity routines or any little hacks that have helped you kind of stay productive and keep yourself accountable?
No, I mean, this is always the biggest struggle. It's especially like when you work from home, right? I've been working from home since, oh no, it must have been, I started working in 2017. Anyways, I've been working from home since 2017, and I think my years have gotten really mixed up at this point. But around 2017, 2018, I started working from home when I started working for Jason and James, and it's always a struggle. I mean, it's never, so you're always trying to figure out how to do it. You have moments where, like, for me, I have, like, spurts of, like, I get really focused on something I'm working on, and I can sit there for hours and do it, but I might not do anything all day, and I work all through the night, right? Which is not necessarily a good habit, especially when you have someone else here at home, and so it's not an easy thing. I think that's one of the hardest things about what we do is being focused. And I've been using this really cool app called Motion. I'm getting better at using it consistently. But what it is like, it's a task manager, and what it does is, like, I don't have to organize my tasks every day. I can kind of prioritize them when I create the task, and then when the deadline is, and then it will actually automatically organize my day by task, what needs to be done today, based on deadlines and priority. And then if something doesn't get done, the next day it'll reorganize everything again to meet that same objective. Right? What's the most important thing, and when does it due? And it will constantly do that. And as you finish things, it'll reorganize them in your time based on, like, how long do I think it's going to take, how important is it, and when does it due? right? And it's a really cool app. I've been trying to use it more because they actually released the ability to like tell Siri what you need. Like, hey, I need a motion task. It's got this. It's gonna take this long. It needs to do on this date. It's a high priority. And then tomorrow in the morning, I wake up. It's already in my system. Okay, this needs to get done. Boom. That's helping more and more to get things done because you might tell me, oh yeah, but if I don't write it down, it's gone. It doesn't get done. It doesn't even exist. And it's unfortunate because I don't mean to be. I'm not trying to be dismissive of people. Just there's so many things going on always when you're managing a business that you feel like you're putting out fires sometimes, and whatever's in front of you at that moment is the most important thing. So if you tell me something that's due later, if you don't send me an email about it or I don't put it in my task manager, it's probably not going to get done. And so learn to write things that you have to find out. I mean, you have to find out what works for you. Because I was having a hard time using this Motion app because I had to type it all out, and that takes time and effort. And I was like, man, if I could just talk to this thing, I would put so many more things in here. And then I finally updated the app and I was like, oh, and this was like back in November, they added this, but I didn't update the app. So I didn't know, but I updated the app and I was like, oh, now you can use Siri to put Motion. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. So now I've been using that more now. It's actually really useful.
Yeah, I think that you actually hit on a really good point there, though, that setting deadlines for certain tasks, I think, is something people really struggle with. Because I think it's, what is it called? Parkinson's law, that like however much time you give yourself to do something is how long it's going to take. So by not setting a deadline, you basically give yourself permission to work on that thing for way longer than you need to. So having something that puts those deadlines in place, I think I could see how that would be pretty game changing.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because we just like, especially you have to know your personality type. I think that's a huge thing, knowing yourself. Like I know people that are extremely disciplined. They get up, they do their work, they're done. Like good for them. I'm not that person, unfortunately. I'm more of like, what's in front of me, let's get it done, and then we'll worry about everything else later. Very, let's more roll with the punches. What needs to be done? That's not always the best though for business because there's some things that are big priorities that need to be prioritized properly. So I've had to use like things to make myself more organized or had to write these things down. And if I don't, they don't get done. And then I keep pushing it off. Like you said, Parkinson's law, where the work will expand or contract based on the time allotted, right? You will find more to do about that, or you're less to do, like figure out how to crunch it into a certain amount of time if you need to, right? So that's something that's hard too, is like fake deadlines. If I know it's not really due, I'm not worried about it. If even the arbitrary, like, oh, it's due next Tuesday. No, it's not. I can wait till Thursday. I'll wait till Thursday.
Yeah.
It's, you think like, listen, the message here is you can actually win despite yourself, but you have to be aware of your shortcomings and how to, like, this app helps because it's almost like I have an assistant that's saying, hey, here's what you have to do today. Okay, I'll do this because this is what it tells me I need to do, right? Versus me, like, what do I need to do today? Okay, let's start looking what's important. Versus like, I think like I know like I don't do as well with ambiguity in my day, right? If I have like, this needs to get done, this needs to get done, this needs to get done, I'll sit here and work on lists and I'll finish the list. I've always been that way, right? So I was like, okay, so I need to have lists. And you have to like, really, this really is, it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's an experience in self-exploration for sure when you're a business owner, especially when you live at home or you're working from home, you're on your own. There's no one telling you what to do. No one wakes you up. You really have to find like what you're trying to accomplish, and it has to be motivating, because there was moments when I was like, listen, I don't want to get up until 10 because I don't have to. But my life reflected it. We weren't, having the same success. We weren't having, but everything was okay. So what did it matter, right? But then, you start to change your goals and what's important, what you want to accomplish. And now I'm up at 6 a.m. every morning, right? I'm trying to, accomplish certain things. I need to fit everything more stuff into the day. And it's like all that change was what I felt made important, right? What I actually truly internalized as important changed. And you have to get good at that stuff. You have to be willing to explore those things. It's really not, it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, I used to think that everybody should be a business owner. Yeah, I don't believe that anymore. And sometimes I wonder, like, should I have gone down the other route and try to move up in a company? Like, would I be happier? I question those things. I don't think so at this point. What I know, I don't know if I could ever work in an office again or work unless like it was unless it's something I truly believed in. I don't think I could show up in an office every day ever again, or be constrained to any one location ever again, right? So it's one of the, like, because I've tasted this life, I don't think I would ever go back. But if I never had done this and I stayed that route, I probably would have been fine.
Yeah, and that really perfectly leads me into my last question for you, and then we can let you go here because I know we're running a little bit late. But one of the things that we always like to ask people is if there was somebody kind of watching this content and they're considering joining the LMV program and, you know, considering making that leap, and they were looking for your advice, what do you feel like you would advise to those people that are kind of in that, like, should I do it phase?
I mean, if you're already questioning if you should do it, I think you should do it.
Mhm.
But you got to give yourself the runway to succeed. You know, planes take off with a big runway, right? And if you don't give yourself a runway, you'll most likely go off the edge, and you'll think you failed. And you'll like, you have to understand, especially if you've never done anything like this before, you're rewarded or you are punished by the life you lived prior to any given moment, right? So if you were in sales already, but you work for a company and you go into this kind of business, you're probably going to be okay because you're comfortable selling, right? But if you were a customer service operator and you only talk to people on the phone about customer service stuff, it's going to be a bigger learning curve. Can you learn it? Absolutely. Can you do it? 1000%. Will it take time? Will it take uncomfortable? Will you be uncomfortable? Will you struggle? Will you probably want to quit? Absolutely. But the only way that you lose is by quitting, right? If you continue, that's one thing I've told this to James before we've had these conversations is like what I think made the difference in my life when it came to this stuff is when I joined LMV, I was like, listen, I'm committed to be here doing the same exact amount of work 1 year from now. Not like poking my head back in, like, hey, I'm still here. It's like, no, doing the same work still trying. I wasn't like I need to make X amount of money. It was like I'm gonna keep doing the same work for the next year. If I win, if I make money, great. But the win would be that I'm still doing the work, right? A year later, because then that's what changed it for me because it wasn't about a money goal. The money came secondary. Not that I didn't want to make money. Of course, who doesn't want to make money, right? But it was more that I wanted to stick to something long enough to actually learn it, because that's the biggest thing is like you think you can run an ad because you run one Facebook ad. If you had success, it might have been luck. You need to be able to repeat it over and over and over again. You think you don't know until you're like, no, I can do this. I've done it hundreds of times. And now I sit down with someone, I'm like, listen, here's what we do, this is what you need to do. Do you want to do it or not? Like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. If you say yes, good for you. If you say no, it's okay, whatever. And it's that level of confidence that makes people want to work with you. But I have that level of confidence that, hey, we can actually do this. This is what it takes. I'm also going to give you all what's going to be the pain points in this, running ads. We might lose for 2 months, but once we figure it out, it can be highly lucrative, right? And sometimes you set one ad up on Google Ads and you never lose. And it's like, hey, listen, we got lucky. It's not but we run ads too where we've lost for 3, 4, 5 months, but now we're profitable and we made all that money back over time. It's just, what are you willing to, we go in with the expectation to lose, and if we win, then we got lucky, and we just keep trying to find those.
Nice. Awesome. Well, thank you, Frank. That was all very helpful. I was taking a whole bunch of notes while you were talking. You had a lot of really good things to say. We appreciate your time so much. And we look forward to checking out a little bit more about your business and hopefully connect again in the future.
Yeah, sounds good. Have a great. You guys are in Thailand,
right. Yeah. It's awesome. What is it right now? 8:30 a.m. for us.
Oh, nice. Okay, well, enjoy. It's starting to get warm here already, even though it's January. So I might head to the beach.
Nice. Nice. Cool. Well, what we'll get you to do is we're going to end the recording and we'll get you to just hang on for a minute. It looks like you should be uploaded any second now, but it just needs to finish uploading on your end.
Okay.
Before you exit out of here. Just give it a second here.